Well, after he came back from overseas, he said, "We're going to go see your parents." And he asked my father if he could marry me. Didn't get it down on his knees, but he proposed my father the permission to get married.
Did he get down on his knees to you?
No, he didn't. He has a lot of times after that. But anyway, my father said to me, I had to have permission. I had to have written permission to get married when I was still in school, which I wasn't finished yet until October. And you couldn't do anything without permissions from your parents.
How old were you?
21 and a half, 22.
You still needed permission from your parents?
Because I had
From the school?
from school. So my father said to him, you asking me for my advice, but I can't give it to you. Because if I give you, you're 21 yourself, you'll have to make up your own mind. Because if I give him permission, then I would be liable for whether it works or not. He felt that he would be more than he could handle if he had given me the permission. So we went back to Indianapolis. We had the rings already. And so Mommy said, let us hold the rings and see if he goes off to Japan. You know, supposedly he has the same risk. So she talked us into not going ahead right away, but it didn't work.
So you got married without the rings?
Without the ring.
And you get married in church or just as the piece?
We married in a chapel next door to the church down in Columbus. And we went there because if it would have been written up in the local newspaper that I had married, I wouldn't get my diploma because they didn't have written permission. So that's why we had to have the secrecy, because it would be, as soon as someone was married, it's getting in the paper, you know.
Who went with you to get married?
Nobody, just us.
Not even Rosemary? Nobody?
No, he didn't even tell Rosemary.
So who was the witness? Just somebody there?
The wife of the minister was a witness.
So then when did you tell your family? Were they mad at you?
No, they guessed it. After about 3 weeks, he was down there. Why was he staying so long down there if he was, unless there was a reason? And he had taken a room in the rooming house close to the hospital. And he was staying there while I was working.
And he was done with the army at this point, or he was just on
No,
leave?
he still was in uniform. And he was just, they had signed up, or they signed them to the 110th Wolfgang unit. And those that came back from the 106, because they lost about half of the men, you know, the Battle of the Bulge. About half of the men were killed. So Dad, of course, knew that, my father, and he warned that it could be what happened, because they thought they were going to have to go to Japan. But then the war was over, and they didn't have to go, but they had to go back and take their turn of being discharged there, as it were.
So was he posted to Indiana? Is that why he was able to stay at the boarding house?
Yeah, he had time off.
No, he was posted at Fort Dix, but he had time off so he could stay for a few weeks in Indiana.
Time off.
Yeah. So,
Then he went back to New Jersey and kept working. He worked all week, and he'd come out every other weekend on the train. But he was working for Mr. Fenari. While he was still in service, he was working for Mr. Fenari.
who's Mr. Fenari?
Was his boss that owned the barber shop when Roy first started working.